Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Half Hour. And I have a treat for you. We are getting to talk about abundance today. And y'all know I love abundance. So this is going to be a really good episode. I have with me another Brand Builders Group friend, Scarlett, the Biz Hippie. And I just love the word hippie. I've always called myself like a corporate hippie. So I'm just like, we're going to be kindred spirits here. It's going to be great. But Scarlett, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited for our episode today. I know it's going to be amazing.
I know, me too. So when we were talking before we hit record, I was saying, what are you focusing on right now? What are you doing? And you're like, well, I have a program called Empowered Abundance, and that it's kind of cohort style. And then we started sharing our backgrounds. We're in a career that wasn't fully aligned and you had to go through that experience. That's the only thing I know, and I want to know more. So what got you to the point of creating this program that you offer today?
Yeah, and it was a long journey. Before I became a coach and an entrepreneur, I was living a life that was very different than how my life looks now. And I always love to say that I was living a life based off of should, and I was a type A, high achieving, workaholic perfectionist.
Hey, reformed myself. Hey, here we go.
Totally. Exactly. Like from the time I was little, I was that kid that was getting straight A's in school all the way up through college. I had my 3.9 GPA. I was managing restaurants by the time I was 18. I had a key to the restaurants and would leave at 2 a.m., close up the restaurant, and was just holding a lot, right? I was working 30 plus hours a week while going to school full time, paying for college out of pocket. I was a very successful young adult on paper. But at the same time, when you looked at my reality and my internal well-being was in a really bad place because I didn't really know who I was or what I wanted or what kind of life would really be meaningful for me. And I was just going with the flow of chasing success, chasing some finish line, hoping that at some point, once I've achieved the money or the success or the job title, then I would be happy. Then my life would start. Then I would be fulfilled. And then one day I realized that this wasn't true, that I was over here waiting for life to start. In fact, I was actually already living life and that it was up to me to do something about it and to make my life meaningful now. And so I began this journey.
I'm like ready. I'm like, oh my God, there are so many things. But the first thing that comes up to me is that's the narrative that I just hear over and over again. And unfortunately, so many people wait till they retire before they start thinking about what's next, or they're mid to senior level in their career. And they're like, wow, I'm super successful, but I'm not fulfilled. I never got to live like my thing. I did like that societal conditioning thing. And you said like, you might have some success, but you're like waiting until, what do I have to wait till I'm 62 and to retire before I get to do my thing? No, we get to do that now. So if someone's listening going like, oh my God, yeah, that's me right now, what would you say?
I would say, first of all, you are the one in control of this life. And it might feel like you're not in control because trust me, I was just getting bashed around and was going with the flow in a downward spiral kind of way. And I literally felt like I was a zombie in my life.
I've been there.
Right. Like I'm a zombie. I'm not here. I'm disassociated. I'm disconnected. I'm depressed. I am numb to my reality. But even in that, you still have the power to take different steps. You still have the power to be in control. And it's completely in your hands to start living a more thriving and fulfilling life starting right now.
So much yes to all of that. And there's a few things that you said is we have the power. I always say like you're the CEO of your life. And while we might be CEO or our businesses or from that perspective, regardless, like what role you're in, you think you're in control of your career, but like, have you ever taken that step back to think you're in control of your life and that you get to stop now and make different choices? And everything you're saying, I'm rolling over. I'm like, these are my favorite things to talk about. When you first started getting back into, like, I would call that alignment with your truer self, what were some of the things that you noticed opened up for you?
Oh, yeah. And it was a long journey.
It's a process. It's not like an overnight thing. Yeah, I ended up working myself. I call it my bathroom floor moment. I had an emotional collapse. And so my rebuilding process took over 2 years. And I would say, even though that moment was 10 years ago, I think we're on a journey. So I don't know that it ever ends once you start, but
Yeah, yeah. For me, I always envisioned it like I had dug myself into a really deep hole and I was stuck at the bottom of this pit. And then there was this whole length of time of discovering myself and really crawling out of that pit. And that took a lot of effort and a lot of energy. It's like you're hauling yourself up. It's like
yes,
tiring and exhausting, and you're tired and you're beat up. And then you get on the ground and you're like, oh, now I'm on the ground. And then there's this whole secondary journey of now learning how to fly. But that whole first
I
part
love
of
that
the journey,
analogy so much.
right, it's just like getting out. So a huge part of that for me was a big self-discovery journey and discovering, who am I and what do I want? What's important to me? What do I actually enjoy? And what kind of life do I want to live? Because those were all things I had never even really allowed myself to consider before, because I was chasing this success path really that was fueled by money. And my relationship with money was the thing that had caused me to go down this downward
I
spiral
get
in the
it.
first place. So as I went on my own self discovery journey, I also started to heal my relationship with money as well.
So can we talk about that? Because I think that most people have kind of a dysfunctional relationship with money. So if you were still in a position of having a dysfunctional relationship with money, what would you tell yourself in your current state?
Yes, and this is exactly the work that I do with my clients. So this is my bread and butter because
Woo! I'm
yeah,
excited.
which is why because it was such a huge part of my life. My toxic, challenging, complicated relationship with money was driving me to live a life that I didn't really want to live. And money was the thing holding me back from instead choosing a more fulfilling, a more thriving life. But the reality is, and what I would say to this past self and what she needed to know, is that money was not controlling me, but I was actually the one in control of my money, just like I'm the one in control of my life. And instead of using my money and letting my money hold me back and keep me down and keep me stuck and make me play small and play safe, instead, you can use the power of your money to actually live the life you want to live, and starting right now.
Wow, that's really powerful. I don't think most people stop to think about that and how they could use their relationship with money to start living the life that they want now. All right, so my brain wants to ask you three more questions, but I'll just start with, when you started unpacking this, what was one lesson that came up for you?
Just the foundational relationship with money is based off of what we learn growing up. And also, your relationship with money is such a deep reflection of your relationship with yourself. So,
Ooh, girl, I'm just saying, I'm getting so excited over here because I always say your net worth is a reflection of your self worth.
yes.
And I'm like, say more, keep going. I didn't mean to
Exactly.
interrupt you, but I was very excited.
Exactly. Yeah, your relationship with money is your relationship to yourself, because your self-worth is tied to your relationship with money, right? So I used to be somebody who had very low self-worth. That's why I was pushing and high achieving and needed to be perfect and needed to work hard and needed to make lots of money and needed to get
Lots of
good grades.
external, and you needed to build up that internal.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So as I discovered who I was and started to no longer need that external validation, and instead could own my worth and own my power and feel confident in myself and develop that self-love, self-trust, self-confidence, that one transformed my whole entire life, but also all of that was a reflection of my relationship with money as well, and allowed me to make that shift to start to
Awesome.
wield the power of my money to create the life I want to live now, instead of letting money hold me back and letting myself hold me back.
That is wildly insightful because even through you just sharing your short story, I think that a lot of people can relate to what you're saying. And I know in my own unfolding, in my own transformation, I had a very similar realization. So that's why I was like, yes, I realized that I was successful. I was making six figures, but I was doing it at a cost. And that's because my self worth wasn't fully intact. Like I believed I was worth six figures, but I believe that I had to earn it and prove it. And so I was grinding. It's weird how our beliefs do really dictate our outcomes. So I had a belief that I was worth six figures, but then I had a secondary belief that said I had to earn it. And in my world, because I'm an overachiever, means I had to earn it. I worked 12-hour days. Took on all these extra projects. It was just overdrive central. And then I realized, oh, I was seeking external validation, and I had a lot of my needs that needed to be met externally rather than internally. And so that was a huge shift when I was able to do that internal work and get my belief system, my sense of approval from myself rather than the external. So I don't know if you're cool talking about that, but I think it's really important, like as we're having this conversation, that external and internal narrative becomes really important.
Oh my gosh. I love that you just used the words external and internal, because that is the foundation of all of the work that I do.
Hey, Air 5.
Boom.
Boom.
Because especially a lot of the people that I work with, they feel stressed about money. They feel like they don't have enough. And they're like, what's going on? Like, I'm working really hard. I'm doing everything right. And yet, no matter how hard I work, how much money I have, I still don't feel fulfilled. I still don't feel free. I don't feel abundant. I don't feel like I have enough. And it's because you have to address both the internal aspects, the internal relationship with money, and the external relationship with money. And so many people are focusing on doing one or the other, but you really need both to get that total transformation so that you can step into your next level of abundance where you are free and fulfilled. And the internal, what that looks like to me and what I teach my clients is bringing awareness to the scarcity seeds, the scarce-based beliefs that were implanted in us when we were a kid growing up, the stories and the narrative that created these beliefs, and how we show up and act and live our lives and create our realities based on these beliefs. And so when you bring awareness to these,
hey, that's the word.
Awareness, that's when you can start to change it and transform it and get to the root of the issue with money. Because no matter how hard you work or how much money you get, until you do the internal work, it's not going to change the pattern or the results. So that's the internal piece.
I love it. And the cool thing is, and I'm sure you can attest to this in yourself and with your clients since you do so much abundance work, but I can speak on behalf of myself and also the clients that I serve. But in my own story, when my sense of validation and approval came from inside, within my first 2 years, and again, I hit the bathroom floor. I worked myself into autoimmune disease. I had a lot to clean up. I was very weak for a long time. So like how you said, climbing out of the hole, my climbing out of the hole took a long time. But once I was on ground and learning to fly, just using your analogy again, I doubled my income the first year. And I was like, holy, I didn't even do anything. I mean, I did a lot of internal work. I did a lot. But like on the outside, I was still in my same career field. I did get a new job, but I was like, oh my God, your net worth equals your self-worth and vice versa. So that was a beautiful description, but I think it's so wild to see how it manifests on the outside is what I'm saying. You do the internal work. So listeners, if you're doing the internal work that Scarlett's talking about, it begins to manifest on the outside, which is when it does, it's like mind-blowingly cool.
Yeah. And exactly what you're talking about as well is growth and transformation is exponential. And so some of the people that I talk to, they're like, I feel like I've been doing all this internal work for a long time and it's not getting me anywhere. It just feels like I'm walking on this long, slow, flat path and I'm not rising up at all. And I'm like, okay, well, growth is exponential. If you've ever seen an exponential curve, like a graph in math class, yeah. Right? It's flat and long for a really long time, but it's doubling and doubling, doubling in just really, really small increments that you can't see. And then all of a sudden it doubles to the point where it just like rocket ships up, but you got to turn that corner and you have to keep going. I think the problem is some of us stop because we're on this flat path and we're like, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not making any progress. But like what you saw in your experience, you're like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden everything doubled. And it's because you hit the growth curve and you stepped into the exponential growth.
Yes. And that's just like, I'm so glad we're talking about that because as you said, I think some people give up on themselves before they get that. I'm so paraphrasing because I haven't read the book in a long time, but I know in Think and Grow Rich, there's a story of the miners digging for gold. And then the one company and gentleman abandoned the site and someone else took it. And then they found the gold within, I don't know, 2 months. I'm making up. If you read the book, you'll know what the real story is. But the point is, it's kind of like that. You might spend 2 years digging, and then in that final 2 months, you'll find your gold.
Right. Exactly. It's more in the continuing to keep going
Until
no
you
matter
hit
what.
it.
Right. Exactly. It's not that it's not working. It's only not going to work if you give up.
Hey, yes, ma'am. That's awesome. So let's talk about in the direction of empowerment, because it is the Empowered Half Hour and you're an empowerment coach too. How could a listener benefit from shifting their mindset around money and also worth altogether, the external worth and the internal worth?
Yeah. And I think there's the internal work that we've talked about that plays a huge role in this. And I also think there's external tangible work that plays a really big role in this as well. Because, like we've been talking about, the power and feeling empowered really comes from being the one in control of your life, and how you can be more in control of your life than ever before is by being in control of your money and learning to consciously and intentionally wield the power of your money to create the life that you want to live. And this is a practice of bringing awareness to your money. What are you currently spending on? What are you choosing? What are you prioritizing? And how are you manifesting your current life through how you use your money, how you make it, how you spend it, and the beliefs and thoughts and priorities underpinning those decisions and those actions. And once you bring this awareness to your money, then you can start to make new decisions with your money in alignment with the life you want to live. And that's how you can tangibly, in a grounded way, manifest whatever life you want to live, no matter how much money you have, because you're taking the power that is your money and you're using it to create your life and your reality. And there's nothing more empowering than feeling like you are the one in control of your life and that you are the creator of your reality.
I love that so much because it's true. And then B, for the listeners, I'm just like, think about what she said, how empowering it is to be the one in control. Think about how disempowering it is to not be in control. And we feel those feelings all the time when we feel like powerless over our situation. We stay stuck in a job that doesn't support us, value us, things like that. But we're like, oh, I have the security of a paycheck, so I'm just going to stay. And then just that choice then puts you're talking earlier in the conversation about that scarcity seed. And then you're like, oh, now I got to hold on to this thing. So instead of being in a place of abundance and empowerment, you're in a place of disempowerment. And even if you don't realize it, if you think this is a conscious choice you're making, you're reducing yourself. And then those decisions end up bleeding into your other decisions, you were saying. So instead of using your money to build a life that you love, you might be using your money just to survive, just pay your bills and stuff like that. So different angle on the same thing that we're talking about, but I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's so powerful to bring awareness around your money and do work around your relationship with money, because your relationship with your money is a reflection of your relationship with yourself. Any of your thoughts, beliefs about yourself in the world is all reflected in your money. So when you look at your money tangibly on paper, what you're doing is you're uncovering all of the scarce-based beliefs, the fear-based beliefs, every choice that you're making that's rooted in a misaligned place, like choices you're making from survival mode, choices you're making because you were told that money doesn't grow on trees growing up and you need to penny pinch and save, choices that you're making because you're afraid of failing or afraid of doing something wrong. And when you look at your money on paper, it's tangibly right in front of you how you are creating your life and the internal beliefs and motivations that are driving that and creating that. And so that's when you go in to heal those scarcity seeds. But then when you step into your most abundant self and you plant new seeds of abundance and you get clear on the vision of the life you want to live and what's important to you and what your vision self values and prioritizes, then you can make your money reflect that with every single dollar that you spend. And that's how you make that vision your new reality and literally manifest that new life.
So awesome. I'm like, I love this because it's concept that's really hard for people. I think maybe a surface level, like, oh yeah, I understand the theory, but the work is definitely where it gets hard, changing all these beliefs. But boy, is it a game changer. Your life changes in such a significant way, and not just the outward abundance, but on the inside. Could you imagine, listeners, closing your eyes, unless you're driving, because then don't close your eyes, closing your eyes and just feeling that aligned relationship with money? What you're also going to feel is grace. You're going to feel flow. You're going to feel calm. You're going to feel warm. You're going to feel happy. There's going to be that inner conflict is going to be removed. Anyway, you can open your eyes if your eyes are still closed, but I just wanted you to feel like abundance is so much more. And I know that's what you mean when you're saying all this, but abundance is so much more than the money. You get abundant in all the other good things in life. So I don't know if you want to say something on that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because money does bleed into every area of your life, right? And we can think of money as this one thing that's a segment from our reality. It's just like a portion of our life. But I like to see money in this current day and age as a foundation that everything else rests upon. I've talked to so many people who aren't doing things because of money, right? Like, oh, I'm not traveling even though I want to. I'm not pursuing my business even though I want to. I'm not getting married even though I want to. I'm not having kids even though I want to. I'm not going on dates and being connected with my partner even though I want to. And so money bleeds into every area of life, even our health and our well-being. Money is tied to it. So when you heal your relationship with money, you're opening up the door to thriving, because no longer is money holding you back in all of these areas of life. And instead, you can simply be who you're meant to be and live the life that you're meant to live. And that bleeds into everything that you do and just how you exist, feeling safe and supported and stable and free with your money, so that you can just simply exist and be and have that be enough.
That is awesome. I have two things that I wanted to ask you, but I think the first one is I want to make sure, because you said you had a special offer for the listeners today that they could do a 30-minute abundance reading with you, or what do you call it exactly?
Yeah, so I love to offer a 30-minute abundance activation session
Activation session. That's what it was. Yeah.
with people who listen to my podcast episodes. And what it is, it's a free 30-minute session where we're going to dive deep into your current relationship with money, uncover seeds of scarcity, get super clear on your most abundant vision, and then build a roadmap to help you get there. And then if you want to explore working together and what that looks like to go even further with this work, there's an opportunity to talk about that as well. And so I invite you to sign up for your abundance activation session, which you can do at thebizhippie.com/activate.
Awesome. And we'll have that in the show notes too. But that leads me to my second question. I wanted to make sure that if we ran out of time that we got that done, because that's such an awesome gift. Thank you so much for offering that to the listeners. Because if people can get their relationship with money healed, the abundance just comes, like we were saying, in every element of their life. So it's just beautiful. Thank you for that. And then I just want a practical tip. Where can I start? What would you say?
I would say the simplest thing that you can do to start is to start to develop a relationship with money. And there's a lot of people that I talk to that actually have fear or aversion to looking at their money and managing their money and being aware of their money because of all this scarcity and lack and fear and not enoughness that underpins our lives. And so this could look like getting comfortable with checking your bank account and just seeing the numbers that are in there and learning to slow down your breath and feel safe and feel solid and grounded in whatever the number is. And this is going to help you feel safe in your reality and start to develop a more positive relationship with money. If you want to level that up, it would be to bring gratitude into your current life and your current money and saying, okay, I can afford these things. I'm so grateful that I can afford to pay my water bill. I'm grateful that I can afford to buy this coffee. I have money and abundance flowing to me. And that's just the simple, bare bones foundation of starting to heal that relationship with money.
I love both of those. And I want to reinforce both of those for the listeners. So one is like really practical. If you've listened to enough episodes, you know I'm a big fan of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, just because it's just a simple framework for understanding human potential. But if safety is not taken care of, it's going to be really hard to get to self-actualization or the full expression of our potential, or whatever words I use, the word radiance too, like in your full expression of radiance, whatever that is, because you're just stuck at surviving. So I love that your practical tip started in safety. And then I also love that you brought in gratitude, because there's a spiritual element to all of this. And you mentioned, I'm going to try not to go down the rabbit hole too long because we're getting towards the bottom of the 30 minutes, but you mentioned disconnection. One of the reasons that we have financial abundance issues in the first place is because we're disconnected from source, universe, God, whatever. I don't get into the religion aspect, but there's a disconnection from whatever is bigger out there. And there's a disconnection from the trueness of who we really are. And so gratitude is one way that you get to build that bridge back to connection. And so I love both your tips. I think they're right on, like with my own philosophies and what I love to teach. You've been an absolute gem on this show, Scarlett. Thank you so much for being a guest. We're coming down to the bottom, so I'd love you to share how people can stay in touch with you. And then I have one more question for you.
Amazing. Well, thank you for having me. And for everybody listening, if you want to keep in touch, there's two ways. One is you can follow me on Instagram, where I am very active. My handle is at the Biz Hippie. Again, you can also book that abundance activation session with me if you want to go deeper, or if you want to learn more about the Empowered Abundance Program and take this work even further. You can learn more about that at my website, thebizhippie.com/abundance.
Awesome. All right. So last question. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
In a statement or a short narrative, what empowering message can you leave behind for the listeners?
The most empowering message that I can leave behind is that no matter where you're at in your life, no matter what you're feeling, no matter how much money you have, no matter what the circumstances or situations are, is that you have so much more power and control than you think. That you are the creator of this life, and that if you're unsatisfied or unhappy with how it is or how pieces of it is, you have complete control and power to change that. You already have the power now, and all you have to do is learn how to wield it. And it is so possible for you to do that.
Air 5 again. That was awesome. Scarlett, thank you for being a guest. It was awesome. I really enjoyed myself.
Thank you.